Welcome to our first ever ABHC show by me, Hosher, Andrew, Bruce, and Zohab, as we will exclusively bring you a 10-minute talk on the endocrine gland, ovaries. We would encourage everyone to closely pay attention to this video, because it will get extremely complicated if you do not understand the first 3 minutes of this. Before we begin, we should start by explaining the anatomy of ovaries. The outermost layer of simple epithelium, known as germinal epithelium, forms a soft, smooth covering for the ovary. The tunica albuginea is a thick band of tough fibrous connective tissue just below the germinal epithelium. It supports and protects the delicate tissues. Deep to the tunica albuginea is the ovarian cortex, which contains follicles and their supporting connective tissues. The follicles contain oocytes that mature into ova throughout a woman's reproductive years. The innermost layer, the ovarian medulla, contains most of the vascular tissue that supports the other layers of the ovary.
The ovaries, a pair of tiny glands in the female pelvic cavity, are the most important organs of the human female reproductive system. Their importance comes from their role in producing both the female sex hormone that control reproduction and the female gametes that are fertilized to form embryos. Human females have a pair of two ovaries which are attached with ligaments to the uterus. This is a vital role for the human female reproductive system because it produces the female gametes, ova or eggs, and also produces estrogens and progestins.
Estrogens are a set of similarly shaped steroid hormones that stimulate and control the development of the human female reproductive system. Their functions mainly include stimulating the maturation of secondary sexual features in females, for example, breast development, widening of the hips, and pubic hair, controlling the cycle of ovulation and menstruation, which involves controlling the release of the egg, the meiosis of the egg, as well as maintaining or destroying the uterine lining when necessary. Estrogens also have minor roles in blood clotting and bone structure, though this is highly insignificant when compared to its other functions.
Andrew discussed about how ovaries produce estrogen and explained its function, but remember it also produces another hormone called progesterone. Progesterone is also a steroid hormone with functions in preparing the uterine lining for pregnancy and including lactation in an animal's mammary glands.
Did you know progesterone was independently developed by 4 key groups? I will mention the lead roles for each one. Buchanan A. Westphal U. in 1934, Hartman M. Wetzstein A. in 1934, Slaughter K.H., Rushig H., Fels E. in 1934, and Allen W.M. in 1935. Allen W.M., standing for William Myron Allen, co-discovered progesterone with his professor George Washington Corner at the University of Rochester Medical School in 1939. He first determined its melting point, molecular weight, and partial molecular structure. He also gave it the name progesterone, derived from progesterone steroidal ketone, which is largely consisting of its chemical makeup.
Ovaries also produce testosterone. Though this quantity is very small compared to the amount produced in male individuals, the testosterone produced leads to slight increases in bone and muscle mass, but compared to males, the effect is insignificant.
Continuing on, the synthesis and secretion of progesterone by cells in the ovaries are controlled by a release of certain hormones called follicle-stimulating hormone, or FSH, and luteinizing hormone, or LH. Both produced by the pituitary gland, which is a small gland that is located beneath the brain. FSH and LH help control and regulate the menstrual cycle and the production of eggs by the ovaries.
These two hormones are controlled and stimulated in the pituitary gland by another hormone that is called gonadotropin-releasing hormone, GnRH. GnRH is produced and secreted by nerve cells in the hypothalamus located in the brain. It is released into tiny blood vessels that carry this hormone from the brain to the pituitary gland, where, as mentioned above, helps stimulate FSH and LH, which in turn controls the synthesis and releases of the male or female sex hormone in the gonads.
Did you know Andrew V. Shalley, an American endocrinologist, and Roger Guilman, who received his MD degree from the medical faculty at Lyon in 1949, and both received Nobel Prize for Medicine in 1977 on describing GnRH that controls FSH and LH. These hormones then induce 6 to 20 oocytes in the ovaries to begin meiosis. As it grows, the oocytes become surrounded by cells forming a follicle. At the end of its growth, the follicle becomes around 1.5 cm in diameter when engorged with fluid. Usually only one follicle is released, but it is possible to release more.
So to recap quickly, human females have a pair of 2 ovaries which are attached with ligaments to the uterus. This is important because it produces the female gametes, ova or eggs, and also produces estrogens and progestins. Estrogens are a set of similar shaped steroid hormones that stimulate and control the development of the human female reproductive system. Their functions mainly include stimulating the maturation of secondary sexual features in females, and progesterone, main type of progestin, is also a steroid hormone with functions in preparing the uteral lining for pregnancy and including lactation in an animal's mammary gland. Ovaries also produce testosterone, though this quantity is very small compared to the amount produced in male individuals. The menstrual cycle is the environmental change that takes place in the uterus and ovaries that is an important part in sexual reproduction for humans. This cycle, once every 21 to 35 days, depending on the individual first, the ovarian follicles mature and releases an egg, which is an increase in luteinizing hormone that helps to weaken the walls of follicles in the ovaries. Luteinizing hormone is also released, which is then swept by the fimbria, or small hairs in the fallopian tube. Then, over the course of 1 to 2 days, the egg will remain in the fallopian tube. If the egg has not been fertilized by the sperm cell by the end of this time, the egg will dissolve. Throughout this process, the release of estrogen and progesterone has been stimulating the buildup of the uterine layer for the implantation of the fertilized egg. If the egg has fertilized, the egg will implant into the side of the uterus and begin development into a human child. If, however, the egg has not been fertilized, the egg will dissolve and not implant.
One very important disease that is common in females is ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer is a type of cancer that begins in the ovaries. Ovarian cancer often goes undetected until it has spread within the pelvis and abdomen. At this late stage, ovarian cancer is more difficult to treat and is frequently fatal. Early stage ovarian cancer, in which the disease is confined to the ovary, is more likely to be treated successfully. Surgery and chemotherapy are generally used to treat ovarian cancer.
So there are several types of ovarian cancer. The type of cell where the cancer begins determines the type of ovarian cancer the female individual has. Ovarian cancer types include epithelial tumors, which begin in a thin layer of tissue that covers the outside of the ovaries. About 90% of ovarian cancers are epithelial tumors. Stromal tumors, which begin in the ovarian tissue that contains hormone-producing cells. These tumors are usually diagnosed at an earlier stage than other ovarian tumors. About 7% of ovarian tumors are stromal. Germ cell tumors, which begin in the egg-producing cells. These rare ovarian cancers tend to occur in younger women.
Certain factors may increase your risk of ovarian cancer. Age. Ovarian cancer can occur at any age, but is most common in women ages 50 to 60 years. Inherited gene mutation. A small percentage of ovarian cancers are caused by inherited gene mutation. The genes known to increase the risk of ovarian cancer are called breast cancer, gene 1, BRCA1, and BRCA2. These genes were originally identified in families with multiple cases of breast cancer, which is how they got their names. But women with these mutations also have a significantly increased risk of ovarian cancer.
The gene mutations that cause Lynch syndrome, which is associated with colon cancer, also increases a woman's risk of ovarian cancer. Estrogen hormone replacement therapy is basically therapy that is especially used, long-term use, and is in large doses.
If you begin menstruating before age 12 or underwent menopause after 52, or both, your risk of ovarian cancer may be higher.
Here's the recap of all the hormones that were mentioned. Estrogen, progestin, progesterone, follicle stimulating hormone, also known as FSH, luteinizing hormone, also known as LH, and gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH. Before we end this video, we told a lot of people that we won't do a rap. But guess what? We're doing a rap.
Yeah, everyone comes in a chain and they all complain.
Why aren't you guys doing a rap?
Because coming up with lines that have to rhyme.
Or we sit with their minds, waiting for a light bulb to shine.
We know you're all upset and we apologize.
You know, because we did not have time to organize.
And that sums up everything. We hope that this video helps. We'll make one next year.
We won't be here next year!